Allie Roach, and today I'm going to talk to you about why you should vaccinate your children. Alright, today I would like to take some time to speak to you about the benefits of vaccinating your children. I know we've all heard the term anti-vaxxer. Some may consider this term derogatory. I don't personally consider it derogatory. This term refers to a person or a group of people who are against vaccinations or have some kind of dislike towards vaccinating your children. Anti-vaxxers use a plethora of reasons to argue against vaccinations. Some of these include that vaccinations cause autism spectrum disorder, they cause cognitive impairments, mental disabilities, chronic illness, and some even say they cause death. None of these claims have scientific or any kind of factual basis behind them to support their claims, and there's actually plenty of studies debunking these false arguments. In my speech today, I'm hoping to persuade some of you who may be against vaccinations or maybe on the fence between vaccinations and non-vaccinations, or maybe if you just don't know a lot about vaccinations, I hope to help you gain a little bit of knowledge on them. Okay, first I'm going to talk about what kind of vaccinations children should receive. So before I get into the benefits of vaccinations and all that good stuff, I'm going to talk about what kind of vaccinations we should be promoting really for infants and young children. Every year, tens of thousands of children in America are infected with diseases that could have been easily prevented with a vaccine. An example of one of these vaccines is the measles vaccine. I know we've all heard of measles. In 2000, actually, measles was completely eradicated from the United States thanks to the measles vaccine. So any case that is present in the United States is from someone traveling abroad, contracting the virus abroad because they were not vaccinated, and then coming back and spreading it to non-vaccinated people. So any case that is present in the United States was not US born, if that makes sense. Vaccine recommendations for children. So the CDC vaccines are updated every year, and recommendations are based on things like lifestyle, health status, job, your travel requirements, things like that. As well as the vaccines themselves, the studies that go behind the vaccines are also updated yearly. So everything is constantly updated, nothing is out of date. So before a baby even leaves a birthing center, it will receive 3 rounds of the hepatitis B vaccination. A little bit about hepatitis B is that it's a disease that causes chronic swelling of the liver and possible lifelong chronic liver illnesses, including liver cancer, cirrhosis of the liver, and even death. According to the World Health Organization, the fatality rate from hepatitis B is anywhere between 65% and 93%. So in 2002, an estimated 2 billion people worldwide were infected with hepatitis B, and about 350 million of that 2 billion suffered from chronic lifelong complications due to hepatitis B. And in the year 2002, 600,000 of those 2 billion actually passed away from hepatitis B associated chronic liver illnesses. At 1 to 2 months, babies should be receiving vaccines for diphtheria, whooping cough, tetanus, polio, pneumococcal meningitis, I have that one down, and the rotavirus. So your baby is going every 2 months to the doctor to receive boosters for these vaccines. So it's not like your baby is getting new vaccines every 2 months. They're just going and receiving boosters for the vaccines that they received at 1 to 2 months of age. After 6 months of age, babies should be receiving the flu vaccine every year. So everyone probably knows about the flu vaccine. That's probably the most common vaccine we have today. During the 2018-2019 flu season, 49.2% of Americans got a flu vaccine. The CDC actually likes it to be about 70% of peoples in America receiving the flu vaccine, which we haven't hit in a very, very long time. But even this 49.2% prevented 4.4 million influenza cases. So I know there's a lot of confusion around flu vaccines, as there is around a lot of vaccines, but a lot of people think that the flu vaccine causes the flu and can give you the flu. It cannot give you the flu. It can give you flu-like symptoms if you're receiving the nasal vaccine, because that is a live virus. So you will experience some flu-like symptoms, achiness, chills, sore throat, things like that. But you are actually not getting the flu. Alright, so some arguments against vaccinations. I know I mentioned a little bit before, but I'd like to go a little bit more in depth. And there's plenty of common concerns surrounding vaccinations, many of which are argued strongly with slim to no factual evidence backing them up. So a common myth, as I said before, is that vaccinations cause autism spectrum disorder. And studies from 2011 by the Institute of Medicine actually found that after 6 rounds of vaccines given to both children and adults over the course of several years, not a single case of autism spectrum disorder or any other medical concern for that matter was reported. Another 2013 study by the CDC studied the antigens, or the bacteria, from the vaccines given to children with and without autism spectrum disorder. There was no difference between the two. So that concludes that there's no scientific or factual link between vaccinations and autism spectrum disorder. Another common concern about vaccines is that they contain mercury, formaldehyde, and thimerosal. So a lot of people say, oh, these vaccines contain terrible things and they have all these gross chemicals and stuff like that. It's somewhat true. They will come into contact with formaldehyde and thimerosal in their manufacturing lifetime, but you are not receiving those compounds into your body when you're receiving these vaccines. So thimerosal is a naturally occurring compound that contains mercury, so that's where the mercury thing comes from. And thimerosal, as well as formaldehyde, are used to prevent the growth of bacteria and harmful microbes in the vaccine at the beginning of the manufacturing process, and later on, when it's ready for distribution, these things are taken out of the vaccine. So we naturally have formaldehyde in our bodies. That's why traces can occur from these vaccines, but like I said, you're not receiving formaldehyde and thimerosal and mercury into your body when you receive these vaccines. Many of these concerns, again, can be soothed by a simple Google search. Any kind of research will show that these fears are, there's nothing backing them. So the amount of issues caused by vaccines are extremely minimal compared to the lives they save and the benefits of vaccinations. And on that note, I'm going to get into the benefit of vaccines. First of all, I've mentioned this before and it's kind of common knowledge, but they are responsible for stopping the contraction and spread of thousands of diseases. So without vaccines, your child may suffer chronic illness, disability, and even death. Preventative care is something that here in the United States we really stress and we pride ourselves on providing. And I think preventative care is the backbone of vaccines. It's a lot easier to prevent an illness than to treat an illness. So I think that's the mindset behind being pro-vaccine. Okay, another benefit to vaccinations, much like wearing a mask during this coronavirus pandemic, is that you're helping stop the spread of these harmful diseases. So, if you're not vaccinated, you could potentially be spreading these diseases, and the same goes for other people. If they're not vaccinated, they could be spreading it to you. So I think that's common sense. According to the Vaccinate Your Family Organization of America, the CDC estimates that vaccination of children born between 1994 and 2018 in the United States will prevent 419 million illnesses, help avoid 936,000 deaths, and save nearly 1.9 trillion in total social costs. And I think it's also important to note that if you're choosing to not vaccinate your children, then that's your responsibility. You take on that responsibility of possibly being turned away for medical treatment, schooling, childcare, getting on an airplane, things like that. So that's your prerogative and that's your responsibility. To conclude, I would just like people to remember some key points. One of them being that there is absolutely no evidence to support the claims made against vaccines. There's hundreds of scientific studies made by credible institutions falsifying these arguments, and the benefits of vaccines are so crucial and impact more people than just those in your immediate families. I think we should think of the other human beings on this planet and take the easy steps to vaccinate your children as well as yourself. Doing this simple act can save countless lives, including those of your own children. So don't be an anti-vaxxer and vaccinate your children. Thank you.